Ukraine's security service has carried out another unprecedented special operation, delivering a powerful blow to Russia's naval capabilities in the port of Novorossiysk. For the first time in history, Ukrainian underwater drone Sub-Sea Baby successfully struck and critically damaged a Russian Project 636.3 submarine of the Varshavyanka class, effectively putting it out of action. The submarine was carrying 4 Kalibr cruise missile launchers, weapons Russia routinely uses to strike Ukrainian cities and civilian infrastructure. Neutralizing this platform is not just a tactical success, but a direct reduction of Russia's ability to conduct missile terror against Ukraine. This operation was carried out jointly by the SBU's 13th Main Directorate of Military Counterintelligence and the Naval Forces of Ukraine, highlighting the growing coordination and technological sophistication of Ukraine's defense forces. A Varshavyanka-class submarine is valued at around $400 million. Under current international sanctions, building a replacement could cost Russia up to $500 million and take years. These submarines are often referred to as black holes due to their stealth capabilities and low acoustic signature, making this strike especially significant from a military standpoint. This video shows one of the combat episodes involving operators of Ukraine's Special Operations Forces near Pokrovsk. A Russian assault group attempted to gain a foothold along the railway line in order to advance further. After Ukraine's forces successfully struck the enemy's movement route from the air, part of the Russian group was eliminated. To complete the mission, a unit from the 3rd SOF Regiment moved in to conduct direct action. As a result, 2 additional Russian servicemen who had taken cover in dugouts were neutralized. Despite intense Russian artillery fire, the Ukrainian group successfully accomplished the task and prevented the enemy from consolidating on the positions they had planned to occupy. Units of Ukraine's Special Operations Forces carried out precision strikes against enemy targets in the temporarily occupied areas of the Donetsk region using FP-2 strike UAVs. In the settlement of Blagodatne, SOF operators hit a storage site for BM-27 Uragan multiple launch rocket systems, as well as the location where the crews of these systems were stationed. Disabling this asset significantly reduces the enemy's ability to conduct massed rocket fire against Ukrainian positions and nearby communities. Additionally, in the Pokrovsk area, Ukrainian forces struck a concentration point of enemy personnel, disrupting preparations and degrading the occupiers' combat capability in this sector. Rare footage of a sniper at work. Sniper operations rarely make it into video footage, and these images capture exactly such a moment. A Russian serviceman on a motorcycle attempted to break through toward Ukrainian positions. A drone drop did not kill him but disabled the bike. Unable to restart it, the occupier decided to continue on foot. At that moment, he was stopped by a precise sniper shot from the 5th Assault Battalion of the 92nd Separate Assault Brigade. Drones flashed them out, infantry finished the job. This video captures one of the many attempts by Russian forces to infiltrate the defensive positions of the 66th Separate Mechanized Brigade. The enemy's tactic is typical. When even a single soldier manages to survive and find temporary cover, Russian command immediately pulls additional assault troops to that spot, building up forces for another push forward. This time, however, the arriving reinforcements only exposed the exact location of the enemy concentration. Ukrainian FPV drones were promptly directed at the site. While preparations were underway to launch additional drones, the Russian soldiers attempted to scatter in different directions. At that point, infantry from the 2nd Mechanized Battalion, call sign Anuki Adolfivny, engaged the enemy directly. The outcome was decisive. 2 Russian soldiers were eliminated in a close-range firefight. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian forces continued their attempts to seize the city, despite the Kremlin's claims that it has already been captured. In reality, operators of unmanned systems from the 15th Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine, Karadag, are destroying the occupiers long before they can reach Ukrainian positions. National Guard drone crews are also conducting constant fights deep in enemy rare areas, systematically searching for fortifications and equipment. Once detected, these targets are immediately engaged and destroyed. Over the course of just a few days, Ukrainian forces eliminated an artillery piece, a tank, a relay station, several dugouts with enemy troops inside, and a large number of Russian personnel. UAV operators of the 80th Separate Air Assault Brigade, known as the Galician Air Assault, are leaving the enemy without communications and transport while defending the Sumy region. During reconnaissance missions, the drone crews detect Russian communication antennas and systematically destroy them, disrupting command and control. At the same time, they identify enemy vehicles and, of course, the occupiers themselves. Every detected target is immediately engaged by FPV drone operators. This is methodical, disciplined work aimed at one goal: ensuring that there is less and less Russian scrap metal left on Ukrainian land. Total technicide by the Knights. While Russian forces terrorize civilians and cut power to Ukrainian cities, the 28th Separate Mechanized Brigade, named after the Knights of the Winter Campaign, is severing the enemy's logistics at the front. On the Konstantinivka axis, Ukrainian drone pilots destroyed 7 artillery pieces, around a dozen transport vehicles, and enemy robotic systems. They also hunted down a rare target, the Grad-P rocket launcher, a system Russia originally developed for export. This was precise, methodical work by professionals from the Unmanned Systems Battalion Spala, Court & Company, and RV of the 3rd Mechanized Battalion. These units know how to make the occupiers pay for every act of terror by systematically stripping them of mobility, firepower, and the ability to wage war. In the Liman direction, FPV drone crews are systematically targeting enemy assault groups attempting to move and hide in wooded terrain. Pilots of the Signum Battalion from the 53rd Mechanized Brigade detect Russian troops among branches, trenches, shadows, and shell craters. They pursue targets even in the densest forested areas and strike where the enemy believes they are safest. This is precise, relentless work, denying cover, breaking up movement, and preventing any regrouping. On this sector of the front, no enemy group makes it out of the forest. Did you know that our drones seem to have a hypnotic effect? Tested and confirmed on the group of so-called tourists who got themselves comfortably seated before a one-way trip. And not only on them. Over the course of this episode, Ukrainian operators destroyed 1 Gas-66 truck, 1 Bukhanka van, 3 motorcycles, 2 Molnia UAVs, 2 Russian soldiers, and 6 more wounded. Thermal search in action. FPV and drop drones of the 3rd Assault Brigade continue to thin out enemy infantry in the forest belts of the Kharkiv region. Using thermal imaging, Ukrainian operators detect a concentration of Russian troops concealed in vegetation. The response was immediate, a drone drop on target followed by a repeat strike to secure the result. The operation was carried out by pilots of the Unmanned Systems Company Chaos Company of the 2nd Mechanized Battalion. This is systematic battlefield work, detection, strike, confirmation. '46th Brigade on the hunt. Here is a series of precise strikes against enemy infantry and equipment carried out by units of the 46th Separate Air Mobile Brigade over the course of a single week. Special attention should be given to the skillful work of Ukrainian UAV pilots who managed to disable Russian quadcopter drones while still in the air, depriving the enemy of reconnaissance and targeting capabilities. Fighters of the 46th Brigade are methodically eliminating the occupiers from the battlefield every day. This work will continue relentlessly until Ukrainian land is fully cleared of the enemy. In the Myrnograd direction, unmanned systems of the 3rd Battalion of the 38th Separate Marine Brigade, named after Hetman Petro Sagaidachny, continue to effectively destroy enemy forces. Through coordinated teamwork, precision strikes, and constant pressure, Ukrainian Marines demonstrate clear battlefield superiority, disrupting enemy movements, targeting personnel and equipment, and denying the occupiers any chance to gain the initiative. Some claim the Russians are tired of the war and want a deal. If so, Ukraine's drone operators from the Kartia Brigade have a proposal the occupiers simply cannot refuse. On the battlefield, there are no empty negotiations or illusions. There are only facts, precision, and consequences. Ukrainian drone crews deliver those consequences swiftly and decisively, stopping enemy movements, destroying their equipment, and leaving no room for further aggression. The governor of Russia's Belgorod region, Vyacheslav Gladkov, has reported a missile strike on the city of Belgorod, stating that the attack caused serious damage to critical engineering and utility infrastructure. According to local Russian social media channels, the strike may have hit a thermal power plant, which would explain the scale of the reported disruptions. However, these developments are far from the only bad news for the enemy. Beyond the rare area strikes and infrastructure damage, the situation for Russian forces is also deteriorating directly along the line of contact. More details on what is happening right now on the front line are coming up next in our military overview.
Russia under attack. Moscow and the Moscow region were almost entirely on fire. On the morning of December 15th, the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed to have shot down 130 drones, including 25 over the Moscow region.
There will be a blackout in major industrial cities of the Russian Federation, primarily in the Russian Black Earth region and accordingly in Moscow region. I do not rule out the possibility of strikes on power generation facilities in Krasnodar Krai and Volgograd Oblast. That is within the range of Ukrainian UAVs and Ukrainian Bayraktars.
The head of Belgorod region, Vyacheslav Gladkov, reported a missile strike on his region and serious damage to engineering infrastructure. Local public channels report a strike on the CHP, combined heat and power plant.
At this moment, Belgorod is effectively without power. The Russian authorities have been forced to acknowledge serious damage to what they call an engineering facility. This refers to strikes by the Ukrainian side on the Belgorod CHP.
It was loud because of the drone attack, according to Russian media reports in Rostov-on-Don. As a result, CHP-2 has ceased operations here. A raid was recorded at the oil refinery in Astrakhan, and the Astrakhan gas processing plant was also hit.
Throughout the entire period of the large-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, Ukrainian drones have attacked oil and gas extraction rigs in the Caspian Sea, and this indicates an expansion in the geography of Ukrainian strikes. And starting from the new year, the production of 3 types is expected to be scaled up. Aeroballistic strike systems, specifically the Flamingo and the...
This is already Ukraine, temporarily occupied Crimea. Shore fighters are destroying 2 enemy radar systems. In this footage, National Guard fighters are destroying a Russian Tunguska on the temporarily occupied left bank of Kherson. In the Pokrovsk direction, due to a lack of logistics, the occupiers have to carry gasoline themselves. But even that doesn't save them from Ukrainian FPV drones, which are always ready, so to speak, to lend a hand.
At the moment, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Ukrainian Defense Forces maintain a presence in 16 square kilometers of the city's total built-up area. Pokrovsk.
In 2 days, almost everyone was destroyed. A Russian soldier reports the situation from Kupinsk.
I don't know how many of us, Sasha, are left. That's why. This is our group.
The occupier notes that his comrades were sent to the slaughter and it was their commanders who did this. In
Kupinsk, Russian assault groups with a total number of up to 200 people are blocked. There is no possibility for ground logistics. The main logistics are carried out using heavy UAVs. Moreover, the Russians themselves are posting videos on social media where Russian servicemen talk about how they took the last can of food. Stew from an elderly Ukrainian woman, because for several days the whole unit has basically been surviving on just water.
In the footage shot on a GoPro camera, it's no longer Russian commanders but Ukrainian scouts. The 92nd Brigade is clearing the forest belt of enemy forces. Short bursts, quick decisions, working without pauses. The result, -4 Russians. The soldiers write,
Pokrovsk and Mirnograd, 2 towns that have become powerful symbols of the resilience and unbreakable spirit of the Ukrainian army. Under constant pressure and repeated assaults, Ukrainian defenders continue to hold their positions, disrupt enemy plans, and prevent any strategic breakthrough in this crucial sector. These cities have turned into strongholds of resistance where discipline, coordination, and determination play a decisive role every hour. What is happening in Pokrovsk and Mirnograd at this very moment, how the defense is organized, and why these directions remain critically important for the entire front? All the key details are in our next in-depth report.
the Russians are storming Pokrovsk with columns of military vehicles. Trying to take advantage of the bad weather conditions, the occupiers launched an assault using armored vehicles and motorcycles. The Ukrainian armed forces, who were already expecting the Russian advance, eliminated the enemy almost immediately. Ukrainian defenders report that the work to destroy enemy equipment and personnel is ongoing. Various components of the defense forces are being involved in the defense of the Pokrovsk agglomeration. The Airborne Assault Group, assault units of the SBS, SSO, SBU, the National Guard, and the National Police.
Ukraine's defense forces control about 13 square kilometers of the Pokrovsk settlement's territory. The total area of the settlement is about 29 square kilometers. Moreover, the Ukrainian defense forces control the high-rise residential district, which is essentially the commanding heights. Accordingly, the fighting is taking place in the so-called industrial zone area.
The logistics for the Ukrainian armed forces remain complicated. To strengthen our supply capabilities, an operation is underway to expand the logistics corridors between the satellite city of Pokrovsk and Mirnorad.
The occupiers' efforts are attempts to break through to Hrishin, which is a key logistical component for the Ukrainian Defense Forces. In the Pokrovsk direction, the occupiers are not giving up attempts to operationally encircle the Ukrainian Defense Forces in the Mirnorad area. The main goal of the occupying forces is, once again, to establish direct physical control over the locations of the Ukrainian Defense Forces.
In order to seize Pokrovsk, the Russian command has transferred operational reserves there, which are also being ground down in unsuccessful attempts to capture the city. Realizing this, Russian soldiers have begun to be hospitalized en masse without being redeployed to the Pokrovsk direction. This was reported by the partisan movement Atesh. According to the medical unit's data, the number of requests from the occupiers has already far exceeded the norm. Groups of soldiers are heading to the hospital, using old injuries, questionable diagnoses, and any excuse to avoid rotation. The fall of Pokrovsk will not lead to the collapse of Ukraine's defenses, but it will weaken Kiev at a sensitive moment in negotiations to end the war under the auspices of the United States, Reuters writes.
The main message promoted by the Russian side is that if Ukraine does not withdraw from the territories of Donetsk region according to the agreements, the Russian Federation will seize these territories by military means. Russian special services are preparing a series of provocations both in Pokrovsk and in the Pokrovsk direction, with the aim of accusing the Ukrainian Defense Forces of using prohibited chemical poisonous substances.
No matter what anyone says, the defense forces have remained in active defense on the Pokrovsk front for more than a year, currently controlling 40% of the city, where the Ukrainian flag is raised in the center.
That's all for now. If you believe the world should know the truth about this war, make sure to subscribe, like and share this video so everyone can see what Ukraine is fighting for. Together we're stronger, together we bring victory closer.